we're going Hello everyone. Today we are going to solve a problem using one of the type of a user-defined function, which is arguments passed and a return value. Now we have here a problem which is to write a C program that calculates the product of the squared sequence of the inputted numbers. So basically, the sequence meant by the problem is the square root of counting numbers or the natural numbers starting from 1 up to the nth term or the inputted number by the user. So for example here, if our user inputted number which is number 3, the program must calculate the product of the squared sequence starting from 1 up to 3. So we have here the square root of 1 is 1 times the square root of 2, which is 4, times the square root of 3, which is 9. So 1 times 4 is equals to 4 times 9 is equals to 36. Another example is that our user inputted number 4. Thus, the program must calculate the product of the squared sequence starting from number 1 up to 4. So we have here the square root of 1 times the square root of 2, 4 times square root of 3, which is 9, and lastly the square root of 4, which is 16. So 1 times 4, 4 times 9 is equals to 36 times 16 is equals to 576. So we have here our code which will display the product of the squared sequence of the number being inputted by the user. And first we have our purposes or directives, very important. Next is we have the function declaration or the function prototype, which is int product of sequence, our function name, because later on in our program this function will calculate the product of the squared sequence of the inputted number by the user. And inside our parentheses is our formal parameters, which have the data type integer and variable none. Let's not forget about the semicolon in the end, since this is a function declaration or function prototype. Next we have our main function, int main, open curly brace, and we declare variables number and result, which both have a data type integer. And since our program will take input from the user, we use the scanf function. Next, we have here our function call. So basically, our main function called our user-defined function, which is the product of sequence. And inside this parenthesis, is the argument which will be passed to the user-defined function product of sequence. So therefore, whatever number inputted by the user, for example, if the user inputted number 3, it will be passed to the user-defined function product of sequence. And since our program encountered a function call, the control of the program will now fall to the function being called, which is the user-defined function. And now let's continue. So here in our user-defined function, we have declared and initialized variables, which is account, which have the data type integer, and initial value, which is 1. Then we have here our int product, which is also equal to 1. Next, we have here our conditional statement, specifically the if statement. So this if statement will only be executed if the number inputted by the user is equal to 0. So if the user input is 0, the program or the function will return the number which is 0, and 0 will be assigned as the value of result. But if the user inputted a number which is greater than 0, then this statement, then this if statement will not be executed. So for example, if our user inputted a number greater than 0 or not equal to 0, for example 3, this if statement over here will not be executed, and the program will execute this while loop over here. So let's try to execute this one. So let's just plug in the current value for product and current value for count. So 1 and 1, since here we declared, we initialized the value of our count and product as 1. So next is, let's check if this test expression inside this while loop is true. First, let's check this first expression over here. So is number which is equal to 3 greater than or equal to 1? So true, since 3 is greater than 1. And is count which is 1 less than or equal to the number 3? So true, since count 1 is less than or equal to, less than 3. And since both expressions are true, the body of the loop will now be executed. So the body of the loop is product equals product which is 1 times count 1 times 1. So 1 times 1 times 1 is equal to 1. Therefore, the current value for product will be 1. Next is we have here our update expression, the incrementation of the variable count. So since we incremented the count, the number of the count will now be number 2. Since incrementation, you will add 1 to the current value of count. So 2. Again, let's check if 2 is still true. So here, let's check, is count, which is having the current value of 2, less than or equal to num, which is 3. So true, since 2 is less than 3. So since both of the expressions is again true, the body will still be executed. So let's execute this. Product equals to current value for product times 1 times current value for count, 2 times 2. So 2 times 2, 4 times 1 is 4. So now our current value of the product is 4. Next, incrementation of the variable count. So 2 plus 1, 3. Let's check if 3 still is true. Now let's check in this part. Its count, which is 3, less than or equal to 3. So 3 may not be less than 3, but still 3 is equal to 3, which makes this expression still true. Now let's execute. So product equals to current value for product 4 times count 3 times 3 is equals to 3 times 3 equals 9 times 1 and times 4 is equals to 36. So therefore, the current value for product is updated into 36. Then next, again, we have our update expression, incrementation of the variable count. Now, the value of our count is now changed into 4. So let's check if 4 is true. So here is count, which is 4, less than or equal to num, which is 3. So since 4 is not less than and not equal to 3, therefore this expression is false. Now since this is false, the loop will now terminate and the program will execute the next statement, which here our next statement is the return statement. So here we returned the latest or the current value of our product. So what is the current value of our product? So the current value of product is 36. So therefore the program will return 36 and assign it to the result variable up here. So product, the program will return the value of our product and assign it to the result variable up here. So therefore the result variable now has the value of the product, which is 36, and then the program will now execute the next statement, which is the printf statement, and then return 0. And now we have here our code. I just copy pasted it, and we're going to check if it's free from any errors. So no errors, no error, no error. Let's just save this one, check out if it's runnable, compile and run. Let's plug in number 3. Let's check if it is correct. So 36, correct. Next, we'll plug in number 4. So 576, again correct. Next, number 2, again number 4, which is correct. And lastly is equal 0. Let's check if this program will display 0. So there you have it. We successfully made a code that has a argument being passed here, the number being passed to the formal parameters down here, and we also returned a value, which is the return num and the return product being assigned to the variable result up here. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.